good morning, good afternoon. My name is Ricardo Londoño. Thanks for joining us today for this webinar where our business developer manager will share all the important insights and why it's so important the energy data access. So I let you with her. I let her introduce herself. So Fanny, all yours.
So welcome everybody again to our Energy Data Access webinar. Thank you for waiting. My name is Fanny Denke and I'm the Business Development Manager for FlexiDAO. Today's session, we're going to deep dive into energy data access. And just to give you some context of the company, as FlexiDAO, we are a software provider in energy traceability and certification. We help companies to truly measure their carbon footprint that is related to energy procurement. And we measure these emissions on an hourly basis. And yeah, basically, we enable the vision of a 24/7 carbon-free electricity grid, with which, or for which, of course, energy data access is a crucial first step. So we thought of creating this webinar with the purpose of knowledge sharing, and we also would like to give room to you for questions. So we will dedicate some time after my presentation for questions and a discussion. So first, I will give you some context of the 24/7 carbon-free electricity trend. Then we will deep dive into the why and how to access granular energy data. And I will elaborate on two of our live case studies for reference. And then we will go to the Q&A session and open up the line for your questions. So in terms of 24/7 carbon-free electricity, or 24/7 CFE, in short, the main purpose or the main goal of renewable electricity procurement is, of course, always grid decarbonization. Now, commercial and industrial buyers play a crucial role in grid decarbonization. But for them to be able to make carbon-aware procurement choices, they need to understand their energy data portfolio, and this is why we're talking about data access today. It's important to point out that the 24/7 CFE trend is not only about reaching the ideal end state of the electric grid, which is zero carbon, but this is also a methodology and a concept that is being applied towards this end goal. And it consists of renewables matching, measuring carbon footprint and carbon emissions on an hourly basis, and upgrading our certification systems. So this is really a set of tools towards a 24/7 zero carbon grid. We all know that emissions from the grid fluctuate, and also renewables output from your contracted sources also fluctuate, and they constantly change according to the weather conditions. So generation output will always be somewhat unpredictable and will never exactly match a company's consumption profile. This means that at least in some time periods when the sun doesn't blow and the wind doesn't shine, your consumption will be still associated with emissions from the grid. And this is why we always say, and you may have already heard by now, that 100% renewable does not automatically mean zero carbon emissions. So this is our base principle and the point of departure for this discussion. And in terms of benefits and how the 24/7 CFE movement affects the bottom line, we need to emphasize the transparency of carbon reporting that translates into more and more business imperative besides being a sustainability imperative, especially if you think about the current greenwashing accusations gaining traction. And also, if you think about the legislative environment changing with the EU upgrading renewable energy directives, and also voluntary reporting schemes and frameworks looking into upgrading their guidelines and requirements. So this is on the frameworks, legislation, and the transparency side. Also on the economic side, carbon taxes and carbon offset prices are set to rise down the road. So more and more in ESG analyses and assessments, they are highlighted as a risk for the future. And what we are tackling with bringing more clarity and transparency into carbon emissions reporting and assessment is really laying down the foundation for avoiding these risks and managing these risks and getting ahead of the curve as well. In terms of opportunities, we need to mention that a new market is being created around granular certification, which will lead to a new commodity type that will serve as a price signal for the market and also a potential revenue stream for companies that will use these granular certificates instead of or on top of the traditional energy attribute certificates that we're already using. Now, getting into the core of our session today, energy and carbon data access. So why is it necessary and how it happens? On the whys, I have already mentioned that this is really the groundwork for a carbon-aware energy procurement strategy that companies are more and more looking into developing. And accurate and credible CO2 emissions reporting is more and more an imperative, as I said. And in terms of load management and energy cost management, this is also crucial because it allows you visibility into your energy data, and this poses opportunities for PPA hedging, for example, and matching your consumption with renewable sources. And of course, if you think about the low price of renewables, this provides budget certainty as well long term. The more aligned you are with a renewable source, the cheaper it will potentially become. So how the 24/7 carbon-free electricity trend relates to current Scope 2 reporting and Scope 2 targets. Actually, very recent news is that CDP and the WRI have announced that they are reviewing the assessment criteria and the requirements and guidelines of the protocol, and this also affects Scope 2 reporting, and potentially they are looking into bringing more granularity into the recommendations. In the current reporting frameworks and reporting sheets, there is a possibility to incorporate extra measures like the 24/7 carbon-free electricity score that some companies already apply on top of the traditional scope 2 metrics. And this means that the 24/7 carbon-free scores actually do not compromise the current endeavors or the current reporting frameworks, but they complement them and enhance them. I would like to highlight that the data that is that lays under the 24/7 carbon-free trend, and for that matter, any kind of energy procurement strategy is actually available today and is a consumer's right, especially in Europe. And both energy meter data and emissions data in most cases is free. On the how to access granular meter data part, we divide the access types into two main categories. Because in some countries and some regions, there are central data hubs available that manage and orchestrate the data both on the generation and the consumption side, and they provide a very easily accessible means of data. And the second category is countries and regions where there are third parties managing and aggregating the data, and they can be utilities, suppliers, market regulators, distribution network operators, transmission network operators. So this is a wide range of parties involved in the data management. In terms of the process on how we as FlexiDAO approach and collect yes, apologies. So on how we access the data. First of all, we always make a study for each customer, and based on the customer's portfolio, we provide a recommendation for the rollout of data access, and this always includes a study of the available data provider parties. If there is a central data hub available, that's the easiest case. And in such cases, we go through the data, the central national data provider, and guide the client through the data process. From the client side, the process is very similar, also in the case when there is no national data hub, because it's on FlexiDAO to identify the data responsible parties and the process itself. What is required from the client in each case is an authorization to access their data. And from there, FlexiDAO takes care of the rest of the procedure. The end goal is, of course, always automating the data collection and digitalize all the data that is available. And the process, as you see, is is always customized to the client's specific case. When it comes to the feasibility, you have already seen that there are different actors and different factors that influence the feasibility itself and the timeline that we can work with. And these factors are the existence or non-existence of a centralized data hub, the end user authorization process that can differ from client to client, data collection automation possibilities that we as FlexiDAO need to look into, and of course, the number of market players involved in the process influences the timeline of the process. We divide the different regions into risk profiles, different risk profiles, according to the complexity of the process. And this goes from very low risk to high risk. Very low risk are the locations where there is easily accessible central data hub, agile processes in place. And of course, in cases where we already have the integration and we have worked with the parties previously, it's also from our point of view, it's the easiest easiest of all these scenarios. And high risk countries or regions are the ones where there are no centralized data hubs. There are many market players involved in the process, and the infrastructure might also not be ideal in terms of technicals, and the authorization process can also be lengthy. On how to get started in the process, I will give you a few tips and insights into things that you can do today, that you can start to work on today, in order to improve and advance your carbon accounting. The first step, as you have seen from the previous slides, is data collection and data aggregation, and potentially having a collated view of your energy portfolio is the starting point for any kind of strategy. From there, applying granular or hourly emission factors on your consumption profile will give you a more accurate view of your actual physical footprint, CO2 footprint, which means a very significant improvement from the currently applied annual grid emission factors. And this will give you an accurate location-based footprint. From here, if a company has renewable energy procurement contracts that specify the assets, like a PPA or a premium green tariff, they can start measuring the performance of those contracts, which means matching generation and consumption, and establishing their carbon-free electricity score. These steps will lead to a carbon-aware procurement strategy, and the company will be able to make carbon-aware procurement decisions. A very simple thing that any company can do today, based on the data available, both in terms of emissions and energy data, is shifting from the one annual average CO2 emission factor to the hourly, which means applying 8,760 data points instead of the annual average. And this will give a more granular and more accurate location-based footprint. And surprisingly, it comes with usually lower footprint than what the company currently reports. This is in the physical view of carbon emissions, which essentially means aligning with science and bringing the carbon emissions accounting back in line with the reality of grid emissions and with the reality of renewables availability on the grid. The other type of reporting that companies use is the financial carbon accounting, or the so-called market-based reporting. And in this dimension, there is also a possibility to upgrade the strategy today, in as much as starting to look at the synchronicity of the renewable generation source and the consumption profiles gives an insight into the actual carbon content of the contract that the company uses. So first, measuring synchronicity of the supply contracts establishes the real carbon-free electricity score, and from there, improving synchronicity of the supply can be a next step that the company can work on with their suppliers. This, in the future, will unlock budget and carbon price opportunities. If you think about the new type of market commodity that is just underway, which is the granular certificate. And these granular certificates will become a new tradable asset that can serve as a revenue stream for the company that uses them. The granular certificates will carry the very similar environmental attributes as the current annual energy attribute certificates, but they are time-stamped, so they give accurate information on the time and the location of the renewable energy volumes. And going into the examples of existing 24/7 CFE projects, Microsoft, Google, and Iron Mountain are the three companies that have publicly announced targets in 24/7 round-the-clock energy solutions. And they have pledged to reach the zero carbon, 24/7 zero carbon state by 2030 or 2040, depending on the company. And Vodafone is also a company that is aware of the upcoming challenges and opportunities, but have not yet embarked on an official 24/7 strategy. Our first use case is a type of first mile beginner type of client, where they use FlexiDAO services in a phased approach. And this means first utilizing FlexiDAO's platform as an aggregated energy consumption data and certificates dashboard for European countries, for the European operations, and they are currently rolling out in the US. What they get out of the platform is their hourly consumption data collated on in their dashboard, and this happens through European data hubs that are available in the countries that they operate in. And the only thing that is needed from these type of clients is the authorization letter. Hourly CO2 emission factors will also appear on the platform in the location-based view. And the traditional energy attribute certificates are also allocated on the platform based on their supply contracts. And then the proof of cancellations are provided by the energy supplier. These get uploaded to the platform, and it becomes a repository for the certificates for the client. Automatic calculation of annual location-based and market-based emissions also part of the metrics that they use, and it serves as a one source of truth for Scope 2 reporting for these type of clients. In the second case, the client is more advanced in the renewable energy procurement journey, and they already have PPAs. So Flexi now tracks the performance of these PPAs in a 24/7 hourly view. This means tracking both consumption and generation side data, and incorporating the traditional annual attribute certificates into the platform. This currently happens in 4 countries, and both applies hourly grid mix and measures the hourly match of generation and consumption for this client. The data flows are automated through national data hubs, regional network operators, and when it comes to the EX, national registries are also involved. Data is gathered and analyzed in FlexiDAO's platform called Respring. It operates as the matching algorithm for hourly generation and consumption, and establishes a synchronicity profile of the PPAs, provides the analysis and the insight into the actual synchronous and asynchronous hours. Location-based and market-based emissions in this case are more granular, go down to the hourly level, and the system also produces granular certificates that are hourly, and these are registered on the blockchain. So what it actually looks like in terms of output on the platform, we have put here a sample chart with the main metrics that we track. And the main metrics are total consumption, a total contracted carbon-free electricity score, and 24/7 carbon-free electricity score, which are different in the sense that the contracted CFE score contains only the view of the supply contract that the client chose to use. And the 24/7 CFE score also contains the grid sourced carbon-free electricity volumes. Location-based and market-based CO2 emissions are captured in the granular view. So this means hourly, the average of hourly emissions for both metrics. The graph itself will provide information for each hour of the chosen time period. And the gray bars stand for the volumes that are covered by the contracted carbon-free source. The light green bars represent the grid-sourced carbon-free electricity, and the gray areas will be the non-carbon-free grid-sourced volumes. From a graph of this type, the client then will be able to approach a supplier or their supplier and start discussions around how to cover the gaps or improve the carbon-free electricity score, which in this case is 94%. If we include the grid source, the carbon-free volumes as well. If those are excluded, only looking at the PPA performance, it will be 86% in this case. Thank you everyone for listening.